From Ritchie Valens to Jose Chavez y Chavez, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Jason Burns.
And I'm Danny Ritchie, and this is the What About podcast.
You learned a little information in this episode, Danny, which is...
that I don't know anything?
No, that our guest, Lou Diamond Phillips, is part of the reason why I don't fly.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I did not know that.
So tortured by some of my favorite musicians as a kid that had passed away in planes that I think it just coiced me forever.
Did I ever ask you this? Did you see the film Alive?
I have seen Alive, yes.
So you
100%.
saw the plane crash?
I did. If I am just on my couch watching a movie and there is a plane
flight
crash, if there's even just a plane flying, I get anxiety. That's how bad it is.
Wow.
But I vowed to get on a plane at some point in the future, just so that I'm not forever
Just don't
stuck.
be like the Charles Grodin character.
No, I won't. I won't be a Baracus from the A-Team. I got to get knocked out and put on a plane.
I think that's what it is. You got to get knocked out. Literally, somebody has to wheel you on the plane asleep and then wake you up. You know, it's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. You just got to, it's like pulling a Band-Aid off. You just got to go quick.
Yeah, or, like you can't go to Australia. You'll wake up. It's too long a trip.
Raleigh.
But we digress.
Yes.
God, I like chatting with Lou. I could have gone. He got me rolling, man. I was like, here I go.
Lou Diamond Phillips came to have the conversation. That's
he definitely came to have the conversation. And I just, he's what I really like about him is he's just doing it. He does what he can from the position that he has.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I wanted to say. He does what he can from the point, you're a writer.
He's doing it. He's doing it. That's all that matters.
He does what he can from...
He does what he can with the tools that
platform. He does what he can from the... Now we have to keep it in. He does what he can from the platform from which he stands. Nope. He does what he can from his platform. Oh my God, it's fucking awful. Oh, it's so fucking awful. Anyway, he does it. Is what it is. Is what I'm going to say.
He does it good.
He does it well. I can't fucking... I'm dying over here. I'm not even high. You know what I mean? And I still can't talk. It was such an enjoyable conversation. I'm glad I didn't go out too far off the rails. This conversation could have gone on for a while and gotten very controversial. I'm glad it didn't. We kept it to the fact that Lou's a great guy and a very talented actor, producer, director, singer, rock and roll singer, which I thought he was humble about. Without further ado, Lou Diamond Phillips.
You grew up in Texas one season. That's how you grew up with no seasons.
In Corpus Christi, yeah. No, there was one season hot. Well, and then sometimes humid,
And now even hotter.
Exactly. Well, yes. I mean, we could talk about that too, because that falls under It falls under education and the acceptance of actual climate change.
So, Lou, you were born on a naval base in the Philippines. Is that correct?
Yes, I was born in Subic Bay Naval Air Station in the Philippines, which no longer exists as a U.S. installation.
Do you have any memory of it? Or did you come to the States before sort of core memories took shape?
No, we came to the States before I was like a year old, practically.
Okay.
Like a year and a half, something like that. And then I grew up mostly in the States, traveling around. My biological father passed when I was very young. My mother remarried George Phillips. I was born Lou Diamond Upchurch, believe it or not. I'm actually even more Anglican than I look.
You don't look like an Upchurch.
I don't look much like an Upchurch, no. But some people, would say, much look like a Phillips, but yes, I am.
More like a Phillips than an Upchurch.
There you go. And so is my real name. But yeah, George Phillips is my stepdad. As far as I'm concerned, he is my dad, regardless of what some people might think of step parents. But at any rate,
which we could also discuss later.
dude, I mean, this is a whole can of worms. Whole can of worms.
Did people think that Lou Diamond Phillips was a stage name? Because it's a great name, and it sounds like it would be a stage name.
I was literally at a con this past weekend, and one of the I was signing a bunch of stuff for the promoters, and one of them I took offense at it, I have to admit. He goes, because he was so sure of himself.
Mhm.
He says, when did you add the diamond to your name?
When did you add it? I love that he just
Yeah,
makes the
yeah.
assumption that you
Was that
did. You just added
exactly? He
it.
goes, was that for the Screen Actors Guild? I think he was trying to show how
Did
much he
he
knew
wait?
about guild
Did he
rules.
do his head like that, sort of
Yeah,
side to
and
side, just
and
really
I
condescending,
said,
like you did?
I said, I added it, at birth. It's my real name. And I'm actually named after, Gunnery Sergeant Lou Diamond from the Second World War. He was a war hero.
Lou, we just did an episode on D-Day with Garrett Graff, who put out a book called "The Sea Came Alive." Man, what a story! And it's hard to believe that this is the 80th anniversary year.
Stunning.
Mhm.
Stunning. But I mean, the fact that there are people still alive who
Yeah,
were there. This happened within our lifetimes.
right.
I mean, there's so much that has happened within our lifetimes that people don't
The
acknowledge.
cool thing is this book that he wrote is actually not a normally set novel. It's done through interviews. So the entire
Wow.
book is interviews of all the people, family members, people that were
You
there.
made this great point telling us that it's going from, like you're saying, it's going from something we can talk about to something that can only be memories now.
Yeah.
So it's like the final, really the final run of these veterans that are in their 90s and above now.
Yeah.
So you're in Texas, right? How old are you before you come to California?
Bro, I got cast for La Bamba out of Texas.
Out of Texas.
Yeah.
All right. So wait a minute. So are you at this point doing any kind of theater in school?
Listen,
Are you
I was never brave enough to move to LA. They had to come and drag me kicking and
the reason I
screaming.
asked is because we've been doing this, and a lot of the things that interest us is like, okay, how the fuck did you start?
Mhm.
Okay,
because it's so
yes.
interesting, because it's so random and weird.
And it's always different. Always.
Lou,
different.
how many people
Once
come
again, I
over
wasn't
here?
discovered. I actually intended to do this.
Yeah. But how many people come here just going, fuck it, I don't know what's gonna happen? And I grew up here. Like, to me, like, this scares the fuck out of me.
Yeah, get off the bus because you were the high school quarterback or prom king or whatever, and you happen to be really, 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 really good looking. And
But you too, Lou, are really, really, really good looking. I mean,
Well,
let's not throw that this way. That's it's certainly part of who you are.
well, I appreciate that.
And
Let's just say it didn't hurt.
So listen, handsome. So you're in Texas. Are you in Corpus Christi? Are you acting at all?
No. So here's the thing. I had done a lot.
I want to know the thing.
I'll tell you the thing.
Okay.
I did a lot of theater in junior high and high school down in Corpus Christi. I decided to major in theater from the University of Texas at Arlington. I have a BFA or sometimes a BFD, in drama. And I went. I actually last fall went back to teach. I taught a
Awesome.
week-long residency, but not only to the theater department, to the musical theater department, and to the film department. And I tried to pull them all together, going, guys, one hand washes the other.
Especially these days.
Exactly.
Because
And
you've
so
done them all at a very high level. I mean, I don't know how many people walk in and teach a class that have the experience of doing it, all three things at a very high, the highest levels you can do it in, really.
Yeah, and so I mean, I was very happy to give back, and so I got my degree from the UTA. I met a man named Adam Rourke, who was an amazing actor in the late '60s, early '70s, contract player from Warner Brothers. He started a film acting school. I was one of the first students, and eventually became a teacher there, and that's what I was doing. I was paying my bills being an actor, man. I was doing theater.
What did mom and stepdad think of that? Because you came from a military family. When you said I'm going to school to study drama, what were their thoughts on that?
They thought it was a phase. I mean, but I mean, the funny thing is that they weren't the only ones. I mean, my drama teacher tried to talk me out of it. My high school counselor tried to talk me out of it. I graduated fourth in my class in high school. I was a smart kid. I had a lot of other things going on, and the fact that they really thought I was throwing away my life by majoring in drama of all things, because I mean, how does a middle class kid get into the movies? It just doesn't happen. And so but I had an outsized belief in myself, and I remember, I think my counselor saying, well, what are you going to fall back on? I said, my ass.
The thing that everybody always says, though, if you have something to fall back on, you will fall back on it because it's always the easier route to take.
And I tell acting students today, I said, don't be a hobbyist. If you're doing this as a hobby, then you're not gonna get anywhere, because it doesn't mean anything to you. I say, listen, don't do this unless you love it. If you love it and if it's your passion and if you believe this is what you're supposed to be doing, then great. Get into acting, but understand it's a business. Learn it, learn the craft, practice the craft, get it in a theater group, in an acting class, whatever, so you can network, all of it, but treat it like a career, treat it like a calling, and not just this American Idol kind of get
Mindset.
famous on TikTok attitude where, okay, I'll be famous overnight and then rich and then I'm set for the rest of my life.
Fuck you island is what I call it.
Nice.
Yeah, fuck you island. So you land on fuck you island, which is really all that anybody wants anyway. But the question that I have for you, Louis, where did you get that sense of confidence and understanding and commitment that this is what you were doing in the middle of friggin' Texas? Did you have somebody that went, dude, you're good, you could do this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had people who, I had a lot of positive reinforcement because I was winning awards when I was doing the university, interscholastic league competitions. So, that let me believe that other people thought I was good, but I mean, pursuant to our bigger conversation about education, I had great teachers.
Mm-hmm.
I had great teachers who encouraged me, but a lot of the motivation came from myself. But, I was captain of the football team and president of the drama club, in addition to student council and class president and a few of the other things like that. I was always an overachiever.
You were in like all the worlds of high school. Like you were in every clique.
I was one of those weird outliers. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, being on the football team and being in drama club, I mean, that just confused the hell out of everyone.
Yeah. So had you ever, because you're in college, you're doing theater, but had you ever stepped on a film set, TV set, anything before?
Okay, so yeah, I was doing a lot of theater. My first professional gig was with a comedy troupe called the 0 Hour. We did kind of irreverent, raunchy Saturday Night Live type skits at a punk bar in Fort Worth called
nice.
Zeros.
Mm-hmm.
And if you weren't funny, they threw beer bottles at you. So that was a great training ground.
I was going to say, you learned high risk acting.
100%, man. And then I met Adam Rourke, I think, in my sophomore year, and then I started studying film acting. And I mean, the brilliance of what Adam taught was I'm not teaching you a method. I'm not teaching what you're learning in college or in any other acting class. I'm teaching you how to hit your marks. I'm teaching you how to match. I'm teaching you, to be on time and not eat the crew's food. I mean, it was.
So
all
he
very,
opened this school in Texas. This was in. Oh wow!
Through a series of weird events.
Lou,
as
I just
well.
want you to know, I've never heard this. Not
Really?
from you necessarily.
Yeah.
Not from you necessarily, but I just mean I've never heard anybody that's teaching that element. Bring whatever technique or school of acting you have. That's not what we're doing here. We're doing this, and I've never heard that.
It was great and so freaking practical. And the one thing I knew from personal experience, and then what I've heard from other students, some of whom have gone on to careers as well, is that then the first time you step on a set, it's not like you've stepped onto another planet.
Yeah.
You kind of know the drill, except that they have a lot more money than we have. And we would videotape every class. And I used part of I helped develop the curriculum over time, and I taught part of it at UTA recently. But I've also taught at the AFI, the American Film Institute, the Tribeca, school. I've lectured in other places using it. So, I mean, I know that it works. And once again, it's not cerebral at all. It's very, very brass tacks.
So that could prepare you for doing a couple of smaller roles on film and TV, and then boom, spearheading La Bamba and carrying that stress.
Biggest role of my life. I mean, I was, like I said, I was doing theater. I was doing a lot of, at the time, Texas was the #1 producer in the nation for commercials and industrials. And so I got lucky being in the Metroplex there, DFW, because I could do theater, professionally get paid. I was doing commercials.
DFW, that's Dallas Fort Worth to you,
Yes.
Jason.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know. My wife's family is in Houston. I have a little bit of a Texas knowledge.
Oh, there you go. And so, like I said, I mean, and doing extra work. I did background work. It's funny because Morgan Fairchild and I and Billy D. Williams are still
Mm.
lovely friends because I was kind of a featured extra in this television movie they did, like back in 1982.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was doing enough acting gigs to actually pay the bills and call myself an actor, which is was my dream then.
Which is really remarkable in doing it in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's so fun. Only now are are Texas legislators becoming savvy about, hey, let's attract production here. Back in the day, there was a lot of production there because, well, first of all, it was a corporate headquarters. That's why the commercials and
Mm.
industrials went there. But the TV movies and the Dallas series and a lot of that stuff went there because it was a right to work state, and they could get cheaper crews. And now Texas is, I think they just literally passed some incentive laws, and I believe it's Taylor Sheridan is building a studio in Fort Worth because he's got some stuff going there. But they looked at their neighbors, man. I mean, Oklahoma's blowing up. I've done a couple of projects there now. Santa Fe, New Mexico is where we shot
Yeah,
not only the
sure.
Young Guns but the Longmire series. Albuquerque has two or three. I mean, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul were there.
Longmire was in Santa Fe.
Longmire was in Santa Fe. Yeah, because they had the infrastructure. I mean, we couldn't go to Wyoming.
Everybody's got to watch that show. It's so good. So good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the Texas has been an evolution when it comes to these. I mean, these the film arts. I directed a Fear the Walking Dead down in Austin, and I learned one of the very very important things as a director. I learned the benefits of Gold Bond powder. Um,
In Austin, in
in Austin, yeah,
the
yeah. Parts of you can get chafed.
Hurts you can get chafed. So hold on. So I mean, because I'm interested. So did you read for La Bamba just
Oh
like
yeah.
any other audition?
Oh, 100%, man.
Well, because people are like, well, how, was it any different? No, a lot of these roles, just you read them like you do everything else. They just happen to, have impact.
And back in the day, brother, you got the sides when you showed up. You didn't
Yeah.
get them the day
No,
before.
that's what I love. People don't realize you'd have to go maybe like 45 minutes earlier to look at the material so that you could read, because especially if it was
but
far.
not being a name them, Lou, there must have been somebody in that production saying, no, we can't not Lou, somebody else. So I mean, there must have been somebody championing for you there.
It was, well, yeah. Junie Lowry was the casting director, and by the way, she ended up casting Longmire as well.
Mm.
But yeah, her and Phyllis Barza, and it was Danny Valdez, Luis Valdez's brother, who said, "Go look in Texas," because they cast in L.A., they cast in Chicago, they cast in New York. Ultimately, saw 600 people. And when I went in, my agent's assistant got it wrong. She said, "Yeah, you're reading for a musical on the life of Frankie Valli." It's like, Sherry. I think, yeah, I can do that. Sure,
Yeah,
man, why
yeah.
not? So I got
Wait,
there.
before, were you singing in high school and college? Did you sing in high school? I mean,
Okay,
not yet.
not
Not
great.
yet. Not yet.
Not great.
Yeah.
That developed much later, after La Bamba, really.
Mhm.
And then I did a stint, with some dear buddies of mine, called, the Pipefitters. We were all,
Oh yeah,
Texas
with our
expatriates.
our friend
Yeah.
Sherman.
Exactly, and formed, that band, from buddies of mine. And by the way, Sherman was one of the original instructors for Adam Rourke's Film Actors
Wow,
Lab.
that's
That's
awesome.
how
Oh
Sherman and I
wow.
know each other,
Oh, so
going
you
back
guys
to
met in Texas, because
1982.
I know obviously he's in Texas, but so you guys met in
1982.
Texas.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah.
Sherman
So,
Allen,
yeah,
terrific guitar player, incredible, great actor, just funny, one of the funniest human beings there is.
he's more like a Three Stooges Borscht
He
Belt kind
is.
of guy.
He's
He's a
unbelievable.
throwback.
Mhm.
He's unbelievable.
So you did the reading and walk us through like what was the process like? How quickly did you know you had La Bamba?
Well, it was one of the. I mean, literally, I read for both roles.
Not Frankie Valli.
No, not Frankie Valli. I read for Ritchie and for Bob,
Yeah.
and ended up at the end of the day, Junie Larry said, "Okay, I'm not supposed to do this." After my reading, she said, "Can you wait a couple hours until we read everybody else? And I'm going to put you on tape." Okay. So she, I sure.
Yeah.
I waited around. I called. I got somebody to cover the class I was teaching, and I waited around. Got more familiar with the script, which was wonderful. That's another thing. She said, "I'm not supposed to do this, but here's the full script."
Mm.
You know. And as I'm reading and I'm going, oh my God, this is freaking lightning in a bottle. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. Later, I asked them, I said, why the hell did you come to Texas? And they said, well, it was Danny Valdez's idea. He said, go look there. We haven't looked there,
Hmm.
you know? And they went to Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio, literally over a course of 2 or 3 days. So at any rate, yes, they put me on tape afterwards. I got the full script. Junie says, I think you'll be hearing from us. I mean, she couldn't be too forthcoming. And sure enough, the funny thing is this. Uh, so 2 weeks later, I booked another role. I booked a small supporting role in a TV movie with Dabney Coleman, who ended up becoming a good friend as well. God bless him. We just
God
lost him
rest his
recently.
soul. Yeah.
But so now the local casting director, Rhodey Kent, calls and she goes, okay, Lou, here's the situation. Yeah, you've booked the Dabney Coleman movie. All right, they want you. However, it conflicts with
Oh no.
the screen test for this movie, La Bamba. Uh, if you go for the screen test, they'll fly you out. They'll fly you out to continue to audition. But that means you're going to have to pass on the sure thing.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a flyer, man. It was a total flyer. And I went, you know what? I gotta go for the home run, you know?
Do you think you would have made the same decision if Junie hadn't given you the script?
You know what? Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know, but it's interesting. Like you actually got to see what the role entailed rather than having
Exactly.
a sense
And
of it.
both
Yeah,
roles, because at the time, but when they flew me
right,
out,
right.
it was to
Oh, when you did the
continue to
screen
read
test,
for both
you
roles.
still weren't sure if you were reading for Ritchie or Bob.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
exactly. I ended up
interesting.
reading for both,
So you had to prepare
but
both for a
only
screen test
testing
in
for
Los
Richie.
Angeles.
Yeah, man. And so here's the thing. I mean,
A lot of
they
that's
they they
tough.
they flew me out for the screen test and said, okay, we can, you got to, and this applied to the film as well.
Where was
They
the
said,
screen test? Do you remember?
yeah, it was. Let me see. All of the auditions took place at the studio center place, the old Lucille Ball place on Santa Monica and Cole,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure.
The actual screen test, I believe, was on the Warner Brothers lot because it was a Columbia film, and that they used to be kind of Warner Brother Columbia together. So yeah, just craziness, man, and the rest is history.
I gotta say, Lou, Danny knows this. So whenever I go to LA, I drive because I don't fly. What you don't know, Danny, is that La Bamba is part of the reason why I don't fly. Because
Ah,
so I had seen
sorry.
that and I had seen the Patsy Cline biopic, and I was a huge fan of Jim Croce. And I said, you know what?
I'm
I'm
seeing a
ready to
trend
fly.
here.
Yeah.
He doesn't. It's no
No.
joke. We've had meetings, like here, like a series of meetings. Like I'll just drive out for
See
them.
you in
I'm
three
like,
days.
Drive from
really?
where?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Oh, you're closer to my world
Yeah,
over here.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Massachusetts, which is no joke of a drive to Los Angeles.
No, no.
So, let me ask you this: were you, as a kid, before in terms of acting? Obviously, in high school and junior high school, you got on stage, you got to do it, and you're like, "Oh yeah, no, I like this."
Yeah.
But were you a film fan? Were you a television fan?
Yes. Huge, huge.
Because I know as you got older and as you started doing it, you were in essence a film aficionado. I mean, you love movies and stuff. But did it start at a young age before you
Yeah,
sort of
no, it
got
was my
into it?
dad, man, and it was my dad, and it was it was westerns, man. It was
Mhm.
John Wayne, it was Elvis Presley, who strangely enough I related to. It's like, oh, he's kind of swarthy, he has dark hair,
I could be him.
and yeah, exactly right. I could do that. And horror movies, man. The old, especially the Hammer horror films, with Vincent Price and Peter Cushing and all those cats, man. And so, yeah, I just loved movies from an early age, and then into the '70s, which was a real heyday, I think, for
Sure.
filmmakers and for character actors. That just further reinforced my belief that it could be done. Then when all of a sudden we had people like De Niro, Pacino, Hoffman, who were not, they were leading men, but they weren't your classic leading men. They were these kind of goofy, character actors, swarthy, ethnic guys. And they literally, in my mind, paved the way for somebody like me.
Mm. So, having watched Westerns with your dad was part of the joy for you to do the Young Guns movies, having that connection, looking back and watching old Westerns with your dad?
Oh, it was, the first movie set he ever came to was Young
Oh, that's
Guns.
awesome. That's awesome.
It meant a lot to him. And
Mhm.
another great memory, because he's, in his early 80s now, was the last year, I think it was just last year, I got inducted into the Cowboy Hall of Fame. There in Oklahoma City. Yeah, it was at the Cowboy Heritage Museum. And of course my speech is like, very happy to be, inducted in the Cowboy Hall of Fame, although I'm usually the Indian. But, I got to take my dad, and I dedicated the honor to him,
Oh
because
man.
my love for westerns started with him.
And I have to ask Lou because I've seen chirping about it. Is there another Young Gun movie coming? I mean,
Man,
The old guns.
it's actually funny because the mock-up that Emilio had made has Young Guns, and then Young is like, all the bullet holes have all,
Sure.
obliterated it,
Sure.
because it's not just guns.
Mm.
Well, I
But
mean, it's funny. Everybody's still around. I mean, it can be done.
well, I mean, yeah, it should be done, and the problem is this. I mean, I read the script. It's fantastic. I said
Oh,
yes.
terrific.
There's a wonderful script, and that Emilio wrote in the John Fusco.
I'm telling you, that Bratz documentary that comes out today, that's going to help because that's going to blow up. I can already
Well, we'll
see that.
see. We'll see.
Mhm.
I mean, I was the only ethnic member of the Brat Pack, and I never received a card, so that's
You were,
very odd.
or as Leah Thompson said, she was Brat Pack adjacent.
Jason, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I am. I was Brat Pack adjacent.
Brat
Yeah,
Pack
exactly.
adjacent. Yeah.
So the funny thing was that, so this script is, I mean, Emilio literally, added 30 years, which put the characters in the middle of the Mexican American War, the going on the basis of, did Billy the Kid really get killed, and is he avoiding bounty hunters for the rest of his life? And those of us whose deaths were off camera,
Right.
he wrote into the script, and John Fusco is still attached, and he was going to do a polish on it. Emilio literally sent me location scout pictures. He literally sent me storyboards. And unfortunately, at least in the moment, Morgan Creek has put the kibosh on it.
I was gonna say, dude, what Morgan Creek? How many times do I hear Morgan Creek owns the rights and they're putting the kibosh on things?
Yeah, and that's what it is. And the bullshit, rationalize. Well, we might want to rebrand it. We might want to, reboot it and do something different. And as opposed to making the sort of classic Western that that made both films popular. So
no,
I don't
you
know.
got to get your talcum powder ready because you're going to be back out there in the hot sun.
What about education?
People aren't always educated and they assume they know things. That and it in this day and age with intertwining disinformation into it is that they go hand in hand, because if you're educated, you won't necessarily fall for the disinformation, but people are getting educated from things that aren't sourced,
and that is the problem. And we are going backwards. And I know when I gave you guys this topic, it's like such a massive umbrella of things. It affects everything. It affects everything. And like you said, just going with disinformation, people thinking certain things and making certain assumptions because they heard it or they read a headline, or all of which is erroneous.
A lot of times nowadays, Lou, it's, oh, well, I was talking to Danny, and Danny said, it's one of those things. It's like hearsay now. Everything's hearsay.
Many people are saying. Many people, all of the experts are saying this,
and others. And all the experts and others.
Yeah, sure. My great aunt on Facebook said.
And they take it as gospel, which is a whole other thing. But I mean, that's just it. As I mean, we've got into these bubbles, and I don't know when we took a hard left turn into not respecting education or science, empirical, disciplines that can be proved or disproved. And it's now all assumption, and it's now all opinion. That opinion can now carry as much weight as something provable.
More, it's more entertaining. opinion
that's true.
than
Well,
fact.
that's what's sad. Like it's like the people want to watch the train wreck. I think it started with reality TV, and I don't mean to jump on the trash the Kardashians train, but it's like, okay, let's watch people flail. Let's watch people do really stupid things, and that's entertaining. And now I can feel better about myself because and now here we go. Now all of a sudden it's like, you don't have to be exceptional at something to become rich and famous. The term celebrity used to mean we celebrate you for something. Your intelligence, your ability, your athleticism, your discipline that got you to where you are today. None of that exists anymore. You can stick a firecracker up your ass and get 1 million views, and then there's a way to monetize it.
Yes,
you
right.
know?
So
And
what do you see and hear? You talked about teaching some students recently. What do you see and hear from this next generation? Are they buying into disinformation, or are they open to, I guess, finding the truth? Because you kind of have to find it nowadays.
yeah, you have to find well, first of all, you have to be committed to it. And so this is the other thing. This is the other thing. Speaking of students, some of them are like, okay, Lou has just laid out a career path. I have to continue to study. I have to hit the bricks. I have to learn what it takes to become a success. Headshots, agent, classes. A lot of this I'm paying for myself. This is how I did it. And there are those that go, literally, I taught a semester at AFI. This was back in the 90s. And a guy came to me after 6 weeks and said, so can I take this certificate and go to casting directors and they'll put me in a TV show? It's like, no, dude, no. And the problem is that we have elevated mediocrity to where, whatever different the field you're in, there are people who are not, they're not the best. And this extends to politics, man. Anybody can become a congressperson. If you just happen
Anybody
to
has.
be case in points.
Anybody
And
has.
so we used to value education. We used to value excellence. But there's this whole, the Dunning-Kruger effect, the people really think they're better than they are. It's like you need to check into reality and go, okay, I'm not great at this, but everybody wants to be great at everything.
Right.
And then there's also this, to me, and it's where our politics have come, it's this WWE mentality. Okay.
Easy. Jason is just
I do like wrestling. I like professional wrestling.
I'm not going to bag on the WWE. What I'm saying is that they're picking sides, and they're, whether it's scripted or not, it's like, okay, they are, vociferous and ravenous about who they are backing. And even though it's a show, and there's this thing that is happening even with other sports where it's like, okay, I'm a fan of Tom Brady, and every time Tom Brady wins, I win. I'm a winner.
It's a great point, because and Danny and I have talked about this before, not even just in politics, it's just
Tom
in
Brady
life.
fan too.
There's no middle anymore. There is no middle.
And it's sad. And the problem is that this celebrity adjacent stuff, it is we take American exceptionalism, and you were talking about D-Day just recently. They're called the greatest generation for a reason. They freaking earned it. They walked the walk. They volunteered. They went. They sacrificed. They died. And they set the bar. And now we've got, and I see it in our own industry, where people think, okay, I invented the wheel. I'm the best thing since sliced bread, but they don't realize they're standing on the shoulders of giants, whether it's civil rights or whether it's, diversity now. There were people who came before that took the hits and paved the way for people to become successful today. And yet there's a generation that doesn't acknowledge that. And they think that, the American exceptionalism extends to them as a birthright,
So I have young kids. I have a 12-year-old, and there is a sense among his class, his peers, 12-year-olds, that fame is a birthright too now because of YouTube. Like all I have
Yeah,
to do is put something up there and I deserve to get 1 million followers.
exactly. Exactly. You know, so nobody wants an entry level position anymore.
Hmm.
Nobody wants to work their way up. They want to jump to the top, you know, and assume that they're going to, and get disappointed and disillusioned when it doesn't work that way, you know, and it's uh, there. And once again, I mean, you know, as I said, it's a big umbrella, you know, getting into education, going, guys, deal with the reality.
Well, it is reality. That's the problem that I see it. That they're educated in a misreality. I don't even know if that's a term. In that the way that people connect through social media and the way that they have a lot of their, most people used to not get a feeling of significance and value that quickly. It used to actually take something, including, it was at a dinner party that you said something witty or interesting. And so you'd kind of walk away from the dinner party going, that was kind of
And it
good.
had more value, right?
But now it's basically you're trying to get that hit from social media, from knowing something, from having an opinion, from being the first person to post it. And it's addictive. It's addictive, especially if you don't have a real sense of self. It's addictive to get validation from those kinds of actions. And when it's that quick and doesn't require anything, who doesn't want something for nothing? I do.
But I'll also say, isn't the industry kind of playing part of that now because people will get parts because they have 3 million followers or 4 million
I think
followers?
that's just a development. You're basically money always rules the industry, always has. So if they feel like that they can monetize something, or even there's a difference between what makes money and what the industry thinks is going to make money. And so a lot of the times the industry thinks this is going to make money, but really everybody in the industry is, if you're not an artisan of some sort, or an artist of some sort, or somebody technical, you're basically trying to make your name on the success of somebody else.
And the thing about it is, you know, Jason, you're right. You're going to get the shot. You know, the industry will go, oh, this person is very, you know, famous. And by the way, now infamy and fame are interchangeable. So the negative, you know, attention people are getting to them is just as, you know, important as, you know, getting the likes. It's like, oh, you know, I said something, you know, just freaking, you know, crazy, but a lot of people like, wow, you know, or it entertained a lot of people. I mean, that's the other thing too, is the people that are taking joy out of, you know, really just hateful shit is I don't know, man, it breaks my
Well,
heart.
also you can get a sense of community with hating something much easier than you can with liking something. You just get on the bandwagon
Yeah,
and you're part of a group that
yeah,
has an opinion that is uninformed.
exactly. And then it perpetuates itself. But I mean, at least I, you know, I think this to be true. uh every one of these people is going to get a shot because it's like, okay, that's an easy way to make some money. However, it is not sustainable.
Sustainable.
they
Yeah, it's
don't
not
they don't
sustainable.
they don't have lifelong careers. They don't become, you know, revered for the consistency of their work or the excellence of their work. They, you know, it's a parlor trick, you know,
So here's what
that is
I've
good
noticed
once.
with the young, I've got a 19-year-old, and so she's kind of right in the middle of, like, the phone generation, the social media gen. I mean, she is like right in it, and there's an awareness among her peers that this is a fucking problem.
Hmm.
These things I got to put down. I've got to watch my screen time. This can suck me in. I've got to watch how I'm affected by it. It creates FOMO. There's
Hmm.
awareness
Yeah,
of it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But there isn't an alternative yet.
No, and that's, you know, I mean, except parenting,
Well,
which you're doing.
parenting, yes, but she's going out in the world, and the only thing that I can sort of say is just throw a maybe to everything with a maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
and do
This
your
is what they're doing is horrible.
and
Maybe.
doing your
They're
own
really
research
wrong.
and forming your
Maybe.
own opinion. I mean, my 16-year-old was getting caught up in, you know, I mean, a lot of the protests and things like this recently, and it's like you know, it's so sad that when you ask this, you know, a young person, what are you protesting, and they can't answer you. You know, that's the problem, is you get swept up in this again, assume you know everything, and especially with you know, a conflict or an issue that is amazingly complex, and it's not reducible.
Well, if you're talking about what happens in the Middle East in general, but
Yeah.
specifically what's happening now,
Yeah.
it's such a like my daughter and my wife and people were asking me, my kids were and my wife were going, "What do you think? What's your opinion?" And I said, "It's such an old, fucking complicated, complex issues with so many things."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, which side are you on?" I go, "I'm not on anybody's side."
I'm for not killing innocent people.
Yeah, so exactly. It's horrific on both sides.
Yeah.
Horrific. There's no real answer. You can't point one to the. I mean, at least look. I don't want to get into it, but I did. But it comes back to what I'm hoping is the solution is that you add a maybe to something, and that you take the impetus to at least research it so that you can have a real informed opinion. And by the way, and have the humility to go, yeah, I'm not really sure what the solution is, and I'm not really sure where I stand. There's a lot here.
Some people need to understand that they're not an expert in everything.
Right. So I got this tattoo, and it's a question mark and an E to remind me to question everything.
Nice.
Because if somebody gives you the information, just because they're just delivering it, it doesn't mean it's real. Doesn't mean it's true.
Well, and that's the other thing too. I mean, back to sort of an overall philosophy of education. I mean, and what people are learning, it's what we're teaching these days, and the entire culture wars over book burning and censorship and everything else. I mean, we're not teaching the Tulsa massacre. We're not teaching the Japanese internment. We're not teaching the Trail of Tears. The fact that there are literal Holocaust deniers. There are people out there saying the Sandy Hook was crisis actors. I mean, this is abhorrent and heartbreaking. It's like, no, you can't have an opinion about it because these are the fucking facts.
We had a globe maker on, and we talked to him about flat Earth theory, and the people.
It was so much fun because he makes these incredibly beautiful incredible world globes, and we talked to him about people that believe that there's flat Earth theory. They believe the Earth is flat. They have conventions.
I'm flabbergasted by so much of it, man. I really am.
So are you hopeful for future generations to be able to right the ship?
Yes. I mean, you have to have hope. But I mean, here's the thing: is that I just got asked to do a keynote speech down in Texas for the AAPI people, and I'm hoping it's going to be to work out. But it's about engagement, man. I mean, sadly enough, I don't think we can be complacent anymore. Before the 2016 election, I thought, hey, man, everything's going fine. We're moving right along. And then I realized it's like, no, you can't go on autopilot. It's not going to happen. For some bizarre reason, it goes back to Newton's law. There, for every action, there's a complete and opposite reaction, and that's always going to happen. My wife and I were just talking about it. It's like you literally can't say, hey, love your neighbor. Oh, fuck that. What if my neighbor's an illegal immigrant? Whoa. I mean, you can't have a nice day. Fuck you. I'm not going to have a nice day. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to have a lousy day because I'm angry.
By the way, this conversation makes me want to see you play an angry neighbor. I'm just saying.
But here's why I'm hopeful, Lou, is because as we have seen throughout history, is that every generation rebels against the generations before it. So at some point, I feel like the future us are going to say, hey, whatever they messed up during the 2020s, we're going to try to fix that.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that is that's true of anything. But I mean, the truth of the matter is, how far are we going to have to go before we get there?
I just hope it doesn't fall into apathy. Well, it's all fucked anyway. Which is why I feel like part of what happened with is happening.
No, there are people out there who believe that. It's like, well, I'm not going to vote, or I'm not going to get involved.
There's a nihilistic, like it's all going to hell anyway, so fuck it.
Yeah, and it's like, no, I mean, like everything else, and we were talking about, I mean, to come full circle, so much of it is self-starting. It's got to come from within you. It's got to come from this sense of integrity or community or want citizenship. And I think, with a respect, making education cool again, making smart cool again, being involved, being a good person, being, not being an island,
Growing as a human being. Yeah. I mean, like,
Mhm.
but actually not talking about growing, actually growing as a human being. And,
yeah.
not that I've grown much, but when I have, when that has actually happened, it's not always been fun.
No, and it's not to paraphrase somebody, it's not about what's in it for me.
Yeah.
Right,
You know,
right.
I mean, yes, we're all ambitious. We all want things in life, and as we get older, all of us are parents. Right
Yeah,
here
that we
is
want
that
that
But,
you
for our
want things
kids. Yeah.
for your
but Lou,
kids
you're
and for the
you're
next
one of the
generations.
people. You're one of the people that's a great example in terms of you've been to the mountaintop. You've been a huge movie star. I mean, meaning like the movie star. You've been working in this industry for decades and decades. Sorry, and decades.
No,
Uh,
it's coming up on
and
40, man.
and
40
decades,
years.
right?
I've been a professional.
So you've had the experience of like I've landed. This is good. This one and what you can share is, yeah, it wasn't great until I started really giving it away, until I started sharing. So I was able to take that and create community and share it and help other people grow and give away what I've learned.
Well, thank you, man. And I think that's important. I mean, it's so funny because you turn around and you go, I remember the first time I got, introduced as, film veteran. It's like, whoa, shit. I'm a young gun.
Yeah, I know. It sneaks up on you, doesn't it?
It does,
I
bro.
remember I got my first, I was like, Professor. It's like,
Wow.
whoa, whoa. So listen, we have a listener question that I want to run by you. So our listener asks, who was the best director you've had a chance to work with and why? And he also has a second question, which is he also wants to know, what was your favorite movie that Ira Hayden was in? Can you guess who the listener question is from?
Gee. Okay. The first one, I don't have just that people ask me, what's your favorite movie of yours? And it's like, I'm so fortunate to have done so many that are great. And I've learned from so many really, really wonderful directors. Just, I mean, Luis Valdez obviously, changed my life. But in tandem with Luis, obviously, was Taylor Hackford, who was the producer, but also, gave me direction behind Luis's back,
Sure, of course.
But I learned a lot from both of them. Ramon Menendez, I learned a lot, literally, about the craft of directing. Watching him on Stand and Deliver, and I have to say, as far as really, really working the craft and working the script and trying to make everything better. Ed Zwick, on Courage Under Fire, he literally has a phrase that I've repeated almost on every set that I've been on, and that is plus the script. Everybody you hire pluses the script. You get the script in the best position that it can be in, and then every actor, every cinematographer, every
Yeah,
editor, every
elevate
every
everything.
person you makes that script better, because the movie is not the script. So I've been really, really fortunate to work with some real giants in that respect. My favorite Ira Hayden film, and he better say that I'm, that the director of that film is his favorite,
Sure, of course.
was something called Dangerous Touch, that I co-wrote and that I directed, and I put Ira in. So
Yes, which I'm sure he's very grateful for.
as well, he showed me his what I think it was like a 3 cent residual recently. So
Woo! Did you see me get all riled up? Did you see how I started to go?
Well, that's why I think instead of woo, you got to say Lou.
Lou. Well, because you do, it's heartbreaking, and you get I don't know, Jason. Sometimes it comes back to I just don't understand people. I mean, and I'm one of them, and I'm one of them.
Yeah, I know, but sometimes reality just doesn't feel like reality lately. I think that's part of it, right? It's like there used to be a time where you knew what was going to happen between when you woke up in the morning and when you went to bed at night in terms of the world, and now it's just crazy shit happens
It's the
every day.
Wild West out
You
there,
want to hear the
Jay.
craziest story? Get this, right? And I wish her all the best, and I hope she is doing fantastic. Did you hear about all the shark attacks in Florida?
No.
There was like 3 shark attacks. One of them was my former neighbor. She lost an arm. She was
What?
bit in the midsection. She had just so happened to be in Florida on vacation with her family, and she was attacked by a shark. And I'm just like, what the? This is not reality. I don't understand. I don't know if it's just like one rogue shark that attacked 3 people, but
No,
there were like 3 attacks.
it's a nightmare. It's why Jaws worked. The possibility of this happening. This is fucking awful, though.
I know.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I know it's unbelievable, but yeah, there used to be a time where everything just made sense, and now you turn on the TV.
Well, no, nothing makes sense. But I will say that Lou Diamond Phillips is doing his end of it. You know, he really is. He's staying informed. He's helping out. He's championing education. He's teaching. You know, I appreciate that he's keeping it real for people that want to be actors.
I want to sit in on his class because
I get the same kind of questions, and I'm like, you know, I have a much simpler answer. I'm like, just do it. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I go, well, you can always take a class. You have to do it. It's not like being a musician. You can't just sit at home and practice scales. You got to go do it. And then see if you love it. And if you don't love it, get the fuck out. Don't do it. Stop. Turn the other way.
From a writer's perspective, the best advice I ever had was everybody's got ideas. Not everybody puts it down and does it. So just like you said, just do it. Take it out of your head, put it on paper.
Yeah, and especially with writing, you really do have to do it. Like every great writer writes. It's amazing. It's amazing how that happens. All right, well, listen, I'm digressing now, so I will stop, and I will thank our listeners, especially Ira Hayden, for listening.
Music by Denny Nucci. Produced and edited by the same 2 people you heard hosting this show because they have no friends.